What do you say, everybody? With Trey, Yanity, I'm Mick Gillispie. Welcome to the BamaInsider YouTube channel on a Wednesday night. And we got a lot to talk about with you guys tonight. But before we get into anything, make sure that you share, make sure that you hit the thumbs up, make sure that you subscribe. We've got one of the hottest channels in YouTube, and we want you to be a big part of that. So hit the thumbs up, share, subscribe. We really appreciate you being here tonight for our show. All right, Trey, lots to talk about. The big news this week in Tuscaloosa has nothing to do with on-field play, but there is a tug-of-war right now between Alabama's athletic department, the university, Walt Maddox, the city council.
Yeah, this is a weird deal, Mick. I mean, this is something that we've kind of been talking about for, a few years at this point, something that could happen after the SEC, made it possible for these schools to allow alcohol sales at sporting events. I thought, we might see it in Alabama sooner than even this, but, it took a while for legislation to kind of get kicked up. And really now in this most recent run of it, it just kind of popped up out of nowhere, this January. We heard about it and heard that it could be a thing. And Alabama at the time, was on a losing streak in basketball. So fans were, hitting Twitter and whatever else with the typical, well, hey, this could be a great way to get people back in the seats since the team isn't winning. And then, it became kind of realistic. We saw legislation get passed. We saw, what looked like to be agreements from both sides. And, what I thought was going to be almost immediate alcohol sales at Coleman Coliseum, but now some kickback, of course, in this. And, we're hearing now about potentially increasing ticket prices because of this, or, that's if it happens at all. So, interested to hear your thoughts, you guys in the comments as well here. I know we got a statement from Greg Byrne that, we want to get read off here, but, just a weird deal and something I think, and I know you guys will probably agree with me in the comments here, something I think that would be a very positive thing for the athletic department to generate more revenue and, just to help the game day atmosphere, if nothing else. I don't think it could hurt it. But, Tennessee does this in football. I'm not sure if they have alcohol sales in basketball as well. But, we've seen the positives and the negatives of selling alcohol at your games. I can go ahead and read this statement off here. He said, contrary to reports, we currently pay 10% sales tax on all tickets, with 3% going directly to the city. That alone is estimated to be $1.3 million for this fiscal year. Our concessions also pay the city 10% sales tax on concessions revenue from all athletic events, generating approximately $125,000 annually. So from what I can get from this, there has to be some kind of makeup for the tax that they're paying to the city. But I don't know, if there's a legitimate resolution here, whatever the case is. But in short and simple, I think alcohol sales need to be a thing at Coleman Coliseum, and I think they still could be.
Well, a lot of places, if you're going to charge, the city's going to charge the tax on the tickets, which you see it there, $1 for events, $1,000 to $1,900, $2 for $20 to $49, and then $3, which would be all the football games of $50,000 plus. Then you need to get rid of the tax that you're getting on the tickets. It's double taxation, is what the university feels like, and quite frankly, I'm surprised. I'm surprised that Walt Maddox and the city council are picking this hill to die on, because they're not going to win long term fighting against the university. Now, we might not get beer sales for the common person in these games, but the rich person's been drinking beer at these games for a long time because they have alcohol in the luxury boxes at the baseball stadium, in the private clubs, and same thing, with I think in basketball, maybe not basketball. I'm not 100% sure because they don't have the boxes there. But long story short, it's for the common person. There's a big debate on whether you would need more policing because of alcohol sales at the stadium. People have been drinking alcohol in the stadium for even before they allowed it. I mean, people sneak in alcohol. I'm sure you've done that as a student. I've done that. I admit it. Even as a graduate, I've, maybe been part of someone sliding in a bourbon or two in my shoe. I mean, that's just the way that it goes. It would be a lot easier and more profitable for the university. And also there'd be some oversight if they allowed it. I'm really shocked at the city when all of the other SEC schools have been able to, if they want to work this out. I look up to Tennessee, and Walt Maddox has made reference a couple of times to the Tennessee Ole Miss game, and he hasn't mentioned that there was a coach that had been there before and left. And, there was a lot of tension there that had nothing to do with alcohol sales in the stadium. I mean, like that, there were some bad calls by the officials. Alabama's never been a school that's done that. And I just don't buy that. I'm curious to see how this works itself out, though. And I've listened to both sides. I've read the story here. Stuart Bell, the Alabama president, has also made an announcement, a statement that's, kind of echoes what Greg Byrne's saying here. And it really feels like to a lot of people that it's a cash grab by the city trying to take advantage of the university. So basically what I kind of feel like is, okay, look, places that have the tax on the tickets don't pay sales tax. So maybe just get rid of the 3% that goes to the city and you get your tax money off the tickets. But I don't necessarily agree that if they sell beer at the stadium for games to the common fan, that it's going to cause that many more problems for the city police. And I know they've tried to turn it into that, but the university, who I kind of stand behind on this one, is not buying that.
Yeah, and isn't that crazy too that we're kind of talking about it with the certain characters taking the stances that they are? You would almost think this would be reversed right now, that the city wouldn't even get to their desk because the administration in Alabama would shut this down. But if Alabama's on board with it, it just is kind of shocking that the city is so keen on double dipping with the revenue money here that they're going to prevent this from happening, or, at least play hardball to make it happen. It's just surprising because ultimately, and, I don't want to get into too crazy of a geopolitical talk or political talk here on Bama Insider, but, the university is the city to an extent. And I think a lot of good comes from having this university in the city of Tuscaloosa. I mean, it just, naturally jobs, businesses, everything else like that. It surprises me that we see, certain little things like this where the city's not willing to budge on something that would be good, I think, for everybody. And like you said, it already happens at football and baseball in the luxury areas of the stadium, whether that's indoors or, you're allowed to bring it out in certain spots of these stadiums as well. So, the fact that it's already at these events for the 1% doesn't really make a lot of sense to me when, just dropping this fee would allow the common fan to indulge in this. And, at Tennessee, yes, there was some commotion. There was a mustard bottle thrown, of course, and all of that. But, like you said, that had context to it. And those seats are 15 feet closer to the field than they are at Bryant-Denny. And, even in basketball here, I don't think that in, a 40-minute game, obviously that's game clock wise, but in a game that'll last 2 to 2.5 hours, you're going to have the consumption of alcohol that would be necessary for something crazy to happen at these events. People want to enjoy themselves. People want that extra little buzz, I guess, or whatever the case may be, personal preference at these games. But to have that option is important. And it's important for Alabama. It's important for the city to have the option to get that revenue, of course. But it's important for the University of Alabama to be able to make that back without having to worry about the city double dipping on the revenue and just fighting them, tooth and nail to get that extra little bit of money. It really is. Somebody said greedy in our comment section. I think greedy is a perfect word for it. The city has no reason to be fighting it like this.
Well, I love how the city thinks that just adding another dollar on everybody's tickets isn't a big deal, or $3 onto a ticket because it's not their $3, and I heard Walt say, hey, you know what? I'm here for the voters of Tuscaloosa. It's like, look, I mean, Greg Byrne throws out there $1.3 million a year is coming off of tickets, right? Plus 10% on top of that from the concession people that are there working the stadium, So the university's making their profit off of, the services that they provide, but the city is as well, right? And I think the other thing that Greg Byrne made clear was that the university supplies a lot of the people that take care of the policing and the traffic and all the other services that are out there. The city does its part too. But Alabama, from what I understand, is the what pays the 13th most of or the second most of the 14 teams in the SEC, which means only one pays more than Alabama. I think that's the figure that I saw on taxes. And so adding this 3%, adding this $1, $2, or $3 tax, which would be a lot of money when you start calculating, per game. I think it's unfair. Now, look, say they had done this and all of a sudden crime went up, then you come back to it and throw it out there. I think I just felt like it was a little bit premature. And I'm really surprised that the city council and that Walt Maddox, who ran for governor last election, would make such a poor political play. I just such a weird hill to die on when you're a leech on Alabama, the university. If you're Tuscaloosa, I mean, you take the University of Alabama out of Tuscaloosa, and it would be Alberta City or Brookwood or any other small town that is, in central Alabama, So I was really surprised. Mayor DuPont was the mayor a long time in Tuscaloosa, and he did an excellent job. He was there for a long time of just towing the line, kind of understanding like that, that, hey, look, we really got to have these guys to do our thing, and we're going to be a great partner. I don't know. I was just surprised by this. And what my hoping is that maybe this is just part of the negotiation, and that when it's all said and done, we look back and go, okay, you know what, a little bit of posturing here, but the city council and Walt come to their senses, and they make a deal that's fair for us, the people that are going to town, paying all the taxes, not only for the ticket, not only for the concession, but also for the hotel rooms and the dinners and everything else that we pay for when we all show up en masse for football games and basketball.
Right. And, I think we are going to get to that point. I don't think that this is where it ends, or, anybody will ultimately die on that hill. You would hope not, at least that they find an agreement. But, ultimately I'm with you. I think, let it play out, see what happens. If there's violence, if there's, any kind of increased, measures that you have to take, do that at that point, I guess. But Chris put it in our comment section here. At baseball games right now, students are able to bring in 6 16-ounce beers, 6 regular beers, or, a few tall boys into the game as well. And they've never had problems over there. I know other universities in the SEC do the same thing. It works. It's a great way to generate revenue. Maybe this is a bidding war, like you said, but hopefully they figure this thing out. I think that they ultimately come to an agreement, and we do have alcohol in the venues, maybe not by the end of basketball season, but, at some point this spring.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Look, because I'm a guy, as you guys know, that enjoys a nice cold beer. And it's nice to sit there, especially for basketball, in one of the worst venues in Division I sports, to watch a basketball game, to maybe have a cold beer and sit there and watch. Now, let's switch gears before we get into basketball. Of course, Alabama takes on Mississippi State later on tonight. But let's talk a little football. We got Alabama football kind of starting to show its face again after an incredible season a year ago. And it kind of coincides with spring practice. And then, of course, the Golden Flake 8A game, which will be Easter weekend on April 16th.
Yeah, this is, one of my favorite events of the year, because this is the first taste. This is where you start to, see the youngsters get their first chance. And we saw Jai Hall kind of take over last year. He was, the highlight player in that game. And this year, it's going to be played on April 16th. I think they're doing something really cool. They're going to honor Wilbur Jackson and John Mitchell, 2 groundbreakers as far as, racial segregation in Alabama athletics. And I think they're going to do this ceremony before the game, really honor these 2 guys, and then we're going to have 4 quarters of great football. We're going to see Jamarian Gibbs for the first time. We're going to see Jermaine Burton, Eli Ricks, these guys get after it. And, for Alabama, this is going to be kind of near the end, of a long spring. So I think this is an opportunity to kind of see what strides Bryce Young, has made, and some of the bigger, older players on this team as well. So obviously a day, just a taste of Alabama football, but one of the most heavily attended spring games, in the country every year. They're averaging, I think I saw a number, 75,000 over the last 15 years. Since Saban's been there, they've averaged well more than any other program in the country. And, his first year, I think they had 95,000 near capacity for that game. So a great event. I think this, is kind of the measure of where Alabama's at every year as far as just passion in the fan base, because this is a big event for, the people in Tuscaloosa, the people in Alabama. And I think this is a really cool event too, because if I'm not mistaken, admission is going to be free again this year, as it usually is. And I think for a lot of people, this is a chance to see Alabama because, when it gets into the season, you're paying minimum $40, $50 to sit in the upper deck. With this game, you get to go sit wherever you want in the stadium. I think this year they've opened it back up, usually everywhere you want in the stadium, and, not have to pay to see the Crimson Tide. So really excited for this event. Cool deal going on there pregame as well. But April 16th, I think is the date this year.
Yeah, last year I took my son. First game that he ever went and saw Alabama was the 8A game. And I think a lot of parents do that because it's just kind of a good opportunity to get your feet wet, when you have young kids. You can take them in there if it's too loud, if they can't take the sun or whatever. You get them the opportunity to watch and feel a part of it and feel like they kind of understand what's going on without having to waste a ticket, like a regular season ticket in a game that might mean something. And that may be the thing that they do next. As far as the 8A game, Saban's first year was one of the most important games that he ever coached because it was a sellout and everyone showed up because Alabama fans were tired of getting their butts whooped, plain and simple. And when he got there, they felt like it was going to be like it is now, except it's better than we thought it would be now than when he got there. But people showing up to the 8A game and being part of it that first year sent the message to recruits, as far as Nick Saban said, that there were going to be a difference, that it was going to be a different program, and that's exactly what we saw. So I'm a big fan of it. I love the game because it gives us a chance to see guys like Bryce Young. Last year's game was the first time we got a chance to look at Bryce Young, who was the Heisman Trophy winner. I remember thinking, this guy's not that good. And then look at how amazing he was. No, I don't even know what I'm watching during the 8A game, but it's football. It's fun. And, it's kind of the first taste of, like you said, Eli Ricks, who came over from LSU, and Gibbs, who came over from Georgia Tech, and freshmen. And maybe we'll see, Ty Simpson, who just signed with Alabama, but was there practicing leading up to the national championship game. So it's an exciting time. They set the schedule, mark it down, and be part of it on April 16th. Hope that we'll have good weather. And you know what? It's important. It shows other programs. It shows recruits. It shows Coach Saban that we care. And it's something that has really helped build this program. Hey, guys, as you hang out with us today, make sure that you like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Be part of the Bama Insider YouTube channel. Share. Tell your friends about it. If they're Alabama fans, they're going to want to be here. We cover Alabama like no one else, and we keep things covered here 24/7. If anything breaks, we got it for you. Kyle Henderson, our managing editor, Andrew Bone, who covers recruiting, Chris, Trey, and myself. We just try to get on this YouTube and keep you guys updated on anything Alabama, and we'll have you updated on the 8A game as that approaches. We'll also have you updated on basketball. Let's switch gears now as the Crimson Tide's back in the top 25 again. They take on Mississippi State tonight, 6 o'clock, Trey.
They do, yeah. This is another huge game and, another big home game. I think that's important in February. Win the games you're supposed to win, but win the games you play at home. I mean, Alabama had to play Kentucky a couple weeks ago. It's not a game that was realistic for Alabama at the time. They had lost a few in a row. Kentucky was hot, and it was just a bad matchup. But, a game like Mississippi State, like Arkansas on Saturday, teams that are nearly as good or maybe worse or a little bit better, these are the games you just have to win at home in February if you want to make the tournament or, kind of get the seeding you want. We talked about it on Monday. I think Alabama is in. I think they're almost a lock at this point. After beating Arkansas and Mississippi last week, I think they're pretty much everything, except for dancing at this point. And I think that this game tonight is, maybe the game where you prove it to everybody. You're back in the rankings. You're at number 25. And, the committee doesn't necessarily make the rankings. They don't care what your ranking is. But this is, the game where you can turn the corner back, rewrite the narrative. You've won 2 in a row. You came off some tough losses, but you had a Baylor win in the middle of it all that kind of kept this team's head above water. This is their chance to say, look, everybody, we lost to Mississippi State the first go round, but hey, we're a better team now. We're a more experienced team. We kind of have our lineup better. And I think in this game, on the technical side of things, this is a great opportunity to kind of explore new matchups defensively and figure out what you were doing wrong the first time. Alabama did not guard the perimeter well, and that kind of exposed the baseline in that game as it went on. Talked about it time and time again this year. Don't let your 5, your center position, have to guard a three-point shooter. We saw it in Mississippi State last time. We saw it at Missouri. We've seen it in certain games. So excited to see tonight, what they do with Charles Bediako, what they do with Jawan Gary, with Noah Gurley. If they allow them to, maybe stay within 5 feet in any direction of the post, not have to get out of the three. I think Alabama will have success if they guard the perimeter well, like they didn't do the first time, but ultimately keep scoring points. This team had a little bit of a lull there against Kentucky. Obviously, whatever the final score in that one was, I think 77-66 or something right around there. But you bounce back, you start shooting the three ball well. You look great in 2 games in a row. Let's make it 3 in a row here and continue to keep this momentum rolling. Because, like I said, I don't think we're talking about the NCAA tournament anymore. I think they're in. They have 7 quad 1 wins. There's only a few teams in the country with more than that. So I think you're good there, but prove it to everybody. Get that confidence back. Tonight's another big night to do that.
Look, you got the standings pulled up there last night. Tennessee with a huge win over Kentucky. They stay in the race for the SEC, although I don't think Auburn is going to flinch. I think Auburn's going to win the SEC like Alabama did a year ago, which would make it 2 straight for the Yellowhammer State, right? Yeah. Arkansas, after Alabama beat them on Saturday, is still, solidly in 4th, but there's Alabama, 6-6, trying to get over 500. You got to get over 500. It's more than just making the tournament. It's tournament seeding. It's taking care of home court advantage. You already lost to Mississippi State in a game that you got beat and destroyed on the boards. That's going to be a focus for Alabama in the game tonight, and it's a home game. You got to defend the home court. No doubt about it. Alabama's biggest problem this year has been Alabama feeling like against teams that they should beat, that they will beat, but they haven't, right? Mississippi State is one of those games. When you look at the schedule and how Alabama kind of has things lined up going down the stretch, they're going to be favored in a lot of games, but you got to take care of that. And I think this is a really good matchup for the Crimson Tide tonight to get the 17-9 on the season, to get the 7-6 in the SEC. I want to see J.D. Davidson protect the basketball a little bit more. 6 turnovers last game in a win against Arkansas. I'd love to see him cut that back to maybe 1 or 2. But the scoring has been there. The athleticism has been there. Got to continue that, right? The other thing, and Jarvis in the comments section, you're exactly right. Cannot play down to the level of competition. Got to play up to their own level, which is something that they did a year ago that they haven't done this year. Shackelford has got to be more consistent scoring the basketball. Don't give me 31 game and then give me 5 or none the next game. Get more consistent shooting the ball. Quinterly, don't be afraid to pull the trigger on the 3 and then crash the boards. Love it when I see Gurley and those type of guys getting in there and getting those rebounds.
Yeah, right. I'm glad you gave me the rundown on JD. I was just about to ask if he's kind of swayed your opinion a little bit because I know you were skeptical on him, but
he's getting
exactly
better.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm with you. And I think, some of that can be cleaned up and some of that will be cleaned up. But with Jaden Shackelford, we're starting to see him kind of get that rhythm going. And I hope, this is the consistency we've been looking for. But I'm with you. If you don't get a good night out of Jaden Shackelford, Alabama doesn't win the game. We've seen that throughout the season. He played lights out at Gonzaga. Alabama wins. Played great on Saturday against Arkansas. Alabama wins. Ole Miss, he had a monster night. I think that was the 31 game. Alabama with a big victory there. So Jaden Shackelford, if we're going to talk about players, I think is kind of your X factor. He's your offense, when you're up, and he's kind of the guy you blame when you're down. So as far as the turnovers go, yes, it has to be cleaned up from the guards. Javon Quinterly, J.D. Davidson have to find ways to, just clean up the passing if nothing else. I think the dribbling's been fine. I think, we've seen the lane penetration at maybe the highest level in the SEC from Javon Quinterly. But overall, this team just has to get hot and stay hot. Mississippi State is a really fun matchup. They have some of the best guard play in the SEC in Iverson Molinar. You got Garrison Brooks, a monster forward on this team as well. This is a hard matchup. And this team, was winning the SEC after the first 2 weeks. So they know how to get wins in the conference. But like I said, and like Chris put up there a second ago, Alabama has been dominant at home. They've taken care of their business as of late, at least. And, you get a win tonight, you really secure a spot in the tournament. So I think all these things considered, this game on national television, Alabama will show up tonight. Hopefully they show out. But you're exactly right. I think Jaden Shackelford's consistency is kind of the X factor for this team.
Women's basketball Thursday night takes on Tennessee. They lose. They're 500. Program on life support right now.
I'm not going to comment on the status of
you don't want to talk about it. They're 12 and 11 right now. 3 wins in the conference, way down at the bottom.
I want the best for them. I want the best for for Coach Curry. If there's some moves that need to be made at the end of the season to put them in a better position to have success, by all means. But I'm going to leave that up to Greg Byrne and hope they finish out with a strong rest of the regular season and potentially another NCAA tournament here.
No chance. What's the thing that when someone's having a heart attack and you put it on their chest and it bumps them like that? They need one of those. All right, let's talk about sports that are doing well, though. Baseball starting up this week. Softball absolutely hammered the field. Pat Murphy's crew, I think they're lined up to win it all this year.
Oh, my. I mean, this is a team. And, we thought we'd see this last year kind of with some of the returnees that they had, but Montana Fouts obviously coming back. That's the only player you need. They dominated out in Arizona. I think they host this weekend. I need to get updated on their schedule. I think they're going to start hosting some tournaments here too. But gymnastics got a big win over Georgia a couple weeks ago. We got, of course, baseball, like you said, starting up on Friday. Trying to think, tennis is going on, swimming and diving. Won the SEC championship this past weekend. So, just overall dominance. And, we got a basketball arena on the way as well. So everything kind of getting back on track here. I know it was a slow start to 2022. Went a little bit there without getting a win in any sport. But, at this point, with the spring sports firing up, I think we're in really good position here. But, Patrick Murphy's squad. This is Team 26, I think. This is a really good one.
Yeah, Alabama in the Eastern Bama Bash coming up, starting on Friday. Evansville, Virginia Tech, Middle Tennessee, all in town with the Ragin' Cajuns coming in on the 24th. So, look, Montana Fouts, Maddie Shipman's sister, is the catcher now. I did games with her on the SEC network, her older sister. Ballers. How about Alabama softball going into the portal and taking away Tennessee's best player?
Right. I love it. I mean, they've worked the portal before. Who was it? Alexis Mack out of the portal from Oregon a couple years ago. And they have this girl. Her last name is Bloodworth. I'm sorry on the name here. If we have any Bloodworth family members watching, but she dominated this past week in a freshman. I think she had 2 home runs or something like that. So this team, kind of working the portal, kind of a young squad. They remind me of Alabama football, to be honest.
Yep. Patrick Murphy kind of in that same spot that Alabama football is in going into this season. Could have won the national championship, probably had the better team, came up short. And I got a feeling that this year's softball team is going to be really, really tough to beat and unforgiving, because I think they realized they left one out on the field last year. So it'll be a lot of fun to watch them over at the Rhodes House.
Yeah. Love it. I love it. And I think they added on even more. I don't know if the renovations were complete last season, but there are more seats at the Rhodes House now. So guys, go over and check them out. And Chris and I actually had the chance to see a baseball scrimmage last week, just inter squad, but the new bridge looks beautiful in right center field. So get out to the Joe as well. I think Sewell Thomas is the official name, but the Joe, if you're a real Bammer fan there, we call it the Joe. So join us on Friday there as well.
Been the Joe for a long, long time. Joe Sewell, when he was a major leaguer back in the day, you could not strike him out. He was like the guy in Major League Baseball who just made contact. He's just super contact guy. He would be worth so much money these days with all the strikeouts in the game. All right, look, anything that we haven't got to before we close up shop and start looking ahead to tonight's men's basketball game?
I think we got it all. Joe Cox has been officially announced. He'll be brought on staff now. I think I saw as a tight end specialist, but I think he's going to help out in a lot of different ways with Alabama. And guys, I mean, we got 30 minutes, about 25 and 30 seconds or 29 and 30 seconds now. So get over to Coleman Coliseum if you're in Tuscaloosa and support those guys, because another big one, like we said tonight. But we're going to be back tomorrow night with Bone for recruiting and, kind of roll into the weekend as we continue here in February. It's coming, guys. I know it's a slower month right now, but spring practice is about to fire up. And we talked about 8A tonight. That's right around the corner, April 16th. So just keep tuning in. We appreciate the support.
Hey guys, thanks for all the comments. Roll Tide to you. Chris, appreciate that. Trey and I hope we never put the mic down either, because that would mean we'd have to do real work for a living. Hey, special thanks to Chris Daughtry behind the scenes, and for Trey Yanity. I'm Mick Gillispie. Make sure you guys hit the thumbs up, like, and subscribe. We appreciate you being here tonight. Basketball coming up at 6 o'clock, Alabama against Mississippi State. Oh, and no matter what happens, you got to go to Lexington. And Saturday, you got to take on a pretty angry group of cats after the way that they got their tail pulled last night at Tennessee. For all of us, thanks for listening, guys. Roll Tide. We'll talk to you again real soon.